Okay, and this video is going to have like a lot more energy than the last one. So, actually, I'm recording this at like 9 o'clock in the morning, so I am a little sleepy. Okay, moving on to dual brush. That was a yawn. Moving on to dual brush. Dual brush is an interesting thing and that Photoshop does with its brushes, and it's really, really cool, and it's hard to explain. So, bear with me. I will do my best to explain it. So if we click on the dual brush, what is that? It's not a tab. Menu item. What is that called? Label? I don't know what you want to call that. If you click on the dual brush thingy on the brush palette, what you get is this menu. And you see these guys right here? Like these guys are all of the little brush bitmaps. Remember how we talked about a brush in Photoshop is basically a bitmap that just gets repeated along your brush stroke, right? So these are all the little brush bitmaps that Photoshop gives you right here. It's the same as these guys here. When I go to brush tip shape, you know, you can select I want a circle, I want this goofy thing, you and then I'll space them out. So that's basically so this little thing is that bitmap repeated over and over again, and this is this one here is just a bunch of circles repeated over and over again. And these are little black and white bitmaps, right? We talked about that before. So what Dual Brush does is it takes this bitmap, which is a circle, and it mashes it together with another bitmap, which might be this cross-shaped thing. Okay, it mashes two brushes. That's why it's called dual brush. Dual meaning being Latin, I don't know, being Swahili for two, dual meaning two brushes. So it takes two of those brush bitmaps and it mashes them together. And then when you are working in this dual brush menu thingy, in the dual brush uh, panel, you can do some interesting things with that other brush. You can fuss around with its size. You can fuss around with its spacing. You know, this is basically how. And look down here. Just look here at the preview. So this changes the size of that secondary bitmap. This changes how far apart that secondary bitmap is spaced, and this scatters them. It sort of moves them away from each other. And this is, you might be thinking this is like stupid, and I'm telling you it's not. This is like the coolest thing ever because it allows you to make, like, if you're painting a texture map for something that's made out of like old weathered steel, I'm telling you with dual brush, you can make old weathered steel look just from painting from scratch, you can make something that looks like real old weathered steel. Or what else? Like like a parchment paper or stone or even like scales and stuff. I mean, it is really, really cool. And so, like, shoot, let me pull up a file here real quick. Um, we will. I'm gonna pull this baby up here. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in on this. Okay, so see this? Look at the front of this spaceship that I painted. See how this like staining and pitting and stuff like that? You see up here all this little pitting. It looks like it's all weathered and stuff. That's all done with a dual brush. So let me show you what I mean. So okay, so we're gonna use a. I'm gonna set up the brush real quick. Remember how I said you just sort of make your brush as you go depending on the need? Well, right now my need is to make a weathered metal look on my spaceship. That's my need. So I'm going to make a brush right now to do a weathered metal. So I'm going to, on my main brush shape, I'm going to use a circle. I'm going to throw in a little bit of texture there. I like this texture. This is a good texture, actually. I'm going to shrink down the texture a little bit, give it a little bit of grain. And then for my dual brush, I'm going to pick one of these goofy looking brushes here. I like these. You have to play with this a little bit and find out which ones work for you. But for me, the second brush that I'm going to use is one of these guys. And I'm going to space them out a little bit. And I'm going to scatter them a little bit. Oh, and I forgot to tell you about count. Count actually just multiplies the number of times that secondary brush is repeated. So you can get a whole lot or a little bit. And you need to play with this. You need to get into it and start messing with it and see how it works for you. But this is how I found it works for me to make this particular metal texture. So I'm going to crank up the size a little bit. I'm going to crank up this. I'm going to drop the spacing down. I'm going to drop the scatter. Yeah, I might scatter it a bit. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to select black. Out here, let me show you how to do. So on your color picker here, if you hit D on your keyboard, it will change your color picker to black and white. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to increase my brush size a little bit. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to paint. And you see how that adds a little bit of goopiness right there? Like, that goopiness. Like, it adds these little patches of darker value with this little texture. And it feels like, now all of a sudden, it feels like, I'll be darned if it looks like old weathered metal. And, isn't that amazing? That's so cool. I'm going to select it. I'm going to hit my Alt button. That'll grab my eyedropper automatically while I'm in when I'm using my brush. It'll toggle between my brush. So if I hit my Alt button and I'm using my brush and I hit my Alt button, it toggles to my eyedropper and I can select color on from the painting. And I come in with a little bit lighter color because that was a little too dark. And I'm going to pop in some lighter color. And sure enough, ha! Look at that. Weathered metal. Is that cool or what? And I'll just come around and sort of equalize the values here somewhat. Okay, so dual brush is freaking powerful. I'm going to squish my brush just to make it a little bit flatter because I don't want to paint up in here. I don't want to paint up in here. I want to paint from here below. So if I use my round brush, see, my round brush sort of overlaps the lighter area. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to squish my brush. Once again, we're manipulating the brush according to the need. I'm going to squish my brush, and I'm going to paint a little bit just below that highlighted area. So there you go. Now all of a sudden I have realistic metal texturing. I'm going to drag this down, make it a little more subtle. With using my dual brush tool. Is that freaking awesome or what? Okay, so that's dual brush. Learn it, use it, love it.